We gaan begin hierdie parabool te skets, which they call f of x is equal to a half x squared minus x minus 4. Okay, voordat ek aangaan, want hierdie gaan nodig of belangrik wees vir die volgende gedeelte van die werk. You guys see that this is sort of written in the place of y. Daai f van x staan in die plek van y. En die rede daarvoor is ons het nou meer as een grafiek. So you can't just talk about y because the one graph has certain y values for each x value and the other graph has different y values for each x value. Okay, so ons vervang eintlik die y met f van x of g van x en ek gaan nou vir julle wys hoekom dit belangrik is. Okay. So let's quickly go through those steps. Do you guys agree it'll look like this? Remember, even though it is a fraction, it is still a positive. Now it's bigger than 0. Half is bigger than 0. Okay. Then we have for number 2, the y-intercept will be at 0 and negative 4. For number 3, and I've told you guys this before, you don't have to number them as you go along. Dit help net baie keer om te sê, okay, stap 1, check. Stap 2, check. Stap 3, check. Okay. So for this one, we set y equal to 0. And what I would do is I would multiply by 2. Dat jy nie met 'n breekwerkie. So that's x squared minus 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. X minus 6. Nee, x minus 4. X plus 2 is equal to 0. En onthou graad 11, jy mag altyd jou formule gebruik. You are always allowed to use that x is equal to negative b plus or minus root of b squared la 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 la. Okay. So the x-intercepts will be at 4 and 0 and at negative 2 and 0. What's the last piece of information we need? The turning point. Okay, I'm not going to complete the square now, but if you were to do this one by completing the square, your first step would have been to do this. To factorize out a half. Now remember, if you factorize out a half, you need to times everything in the bracket by 2. Right? And then you complete the square using negative 2 as b. So jy gaan plus 1 minus 1. Hakkie en onthou om dan aan die einde weer die half in te maal. Okay? But I'm going to do it with the other method because we did it like this yesterday. So ek gaan sê die x-waarde van die draaipunt is minus b op 2a. Nou wees versigtig want jy kan nie nou hierdie ding se b-waarde gebruik nie. You need to use the original b value and the original a value. Okay, so I'm going to say it's negative 1. Stem julle saam die oorspronklike grafiek se b-waarde is min 1. Gedeel deur 2 maal 'n half. You guys aren't writing on this on Tuesday, but these are the types of things that even when you get a formula page, you're not going to get this. So jy moet dit maar leer. Okay. So dis 1 op 1 wat gelyk is aan 1. Can anyone remember what the other method was that I taught you guys om die x-waarde van die draaipunt te kry? Remember, that is the axis of symmetry. So if you know that those two will be the y-intercepts, dan kan jy net sê dis 4 plus minus 2 gedeel deur 2, which is also 1. Because it has to be symmetrical. So the distance between the two, the distance between that axis of symmetry and the one intercept must be exactly the same as the distance between the axis and the other intercept. Met ander woorde, hy moet presies in die middel van die twee lê. So you can always do it like that as well. Okay. How do we get the y value? Substitute back into the original, né? So dis 'n half maal met 1 kwadraat minus 1 minus 4 which is negative 9 over 2. In other words, our turning point will be at 1 and negative 9 over 2. Okay, op die punt gaan ek hom eers teken. I'm going to draw it big because we're going to answer questions about this. So make sure yours has enough place for some notes. That's better. And it was 4 and negative 2. Okay. Voordat ek die ander grafiek ook teken, let's quickly answer questions on the parabola because we haven't really revised that from last term. Wat sal sy definisieversameling wees? What will be the domain? X is an element of all real numbers. It's always like that for a parabola. Die definisieversameling van 'n parabool is altyd x is 'n element van alle reële getalle. Ek sê altyd ons gaan dit self beperk in graad 12, maar gaan julle nou de mekaar maak hê. Altyd. X is 'n element van alle reële getalle. And the range y is bigger than or equal to, and then you look for the y value of the turning point. Jy mag hom skryf as minus 4,5 ook. What would the equation of the axis of symmetry be? This one here. Dis die as van symmetry. Okay, but I'm going to erase that because I'm going to color that thing in a few minutes. Okay. Daai is wat ons laas kwartaal gedoen het, né? Goed. And then they also gave us a straight line to draw. So hy gaan wees deur minus 4. Gaan sommer 'n ander kleur teken. Y afsnit deur minus 4, x afsnit deur 4. If you solve for that one, we will see that it has a y-intercept at negative 4 and an x-intercept at 4. And I said this on the video yesterday as well. It's very important. Remember, your stuff doesn't have to be according to scale, but it has to make sense. So there can't be two different negative 4s on the y-axis. As al twee jou grafieke die y afsny by minus 4, moet dit op dieselfde punt wees. Jy kan nou nie hier 'n ander lyn gaan trekkie. En dan hom ook minus 4 gaan noem nie. It has to be at the same place. Okay. Goed. Nou het ons eintlik eers die huiswerk klaar gemerk. Okay. Ons gaan verskillende vrae nou oor dit behandel. I'm not only going to do the 2 in your textbook, I'm going to expand on that as well. Okay. So, I want you guys to write down this. As die vraag gaan oor g van x of f van x, dan kyk jy na daai grafiek se x-afsnitte. And I'll show you an example or two now. Okay, but if the question is about both, kom. Dan gaan kyk jy na die plekke waar die grafieke mekaar sny. So then you're looking at where they are intercepting one another. Not the x-axis, where they are intercepting one another. And then there's a third type of question that we will ask as well. But I'll get to that. Okay, goed. So kom ons kyk eers na hierdie ene. So, like I said, I'm going to deviate from the questions in your textbook. Let's say the question was, all of these are for which values of x? So, alles van hierdie is vir watter waardes van x? So, vir watter waardes van x sal f van x groter wees as 0? Do you guys see? I'm only asking about one of the graphs. Not both of them, just one of the graphs. It's not f of x and g of x. So, waarna kyk ek dan? You look only at the x-intercepts. So, waar hy die x-as sny. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, this is f of x. And I'm looking for, or I'm looking at those 2 points. Because that is where f of x intercepts the x-axis. Okay, wat soek ons? Ons soek spesifiek f van x groter as 0. Now remember I told you guys, this is standing in the place of a y value. Okay? Wys vir my met jou hande, wanneer op 'n grafiek is die y-waardes groter as 0? When it is above the x-axis. You're not looking left or right. You're looking up or down. Nee? As ons ons y-waardes verander, beweeg ons mos op en af. So if I'm looking for y values bigger than 0, I'm looking for this. Do you guys agree? But now, the question asked for which values of x. Waarna kyk ek as ek kyk na x-waardes? Ek kyk mos so, né? Links en regs. Do you guys agree? So, from this x value, moving to its left. Stem julle saam, daarso is die parabool bo die x-as. As ek kyk van -2 af en ek gaan links, so sê nou maar ek is hier by -3, sien julle dan is die parabool nog steeds positief. Do you guys agree? And for -4 and -5 and -6, etc. So, your first part of your answer, myne lyk nou al soos 'n inkleurboek, maar dis okay. Die eerste gedeelte van my antwoord gaan wees waar x kleiner is as -2. Because you go from -2, all of the values smaller than that. -3 is smaller than that, -4 is smaller than that, all of it. Die tweede gedeelte van my antwoord gaan wees x-waardes groter as 4. Because if you look at this, let's go to 5. Do you agree that if I draw from 5, it's still going to be above? But if I look at x value 3, do you agree the corresponding y value is smaller than 0? Hy lê onder vir daai waardes. So I'm going to say or x bigger than 4. Okay, volgende vraag.